All right. Hello. Emily with Just Ask Em. I have a dear friend, Matt, here. The beauty of these episodes and just the guests I have on here, I think it's just like each one has evolved so differently of how I even met you. I met you through Paula, who was your neighbor, who used to be a previous home care client of mine. Fast forward, then he gave me the opportunity to plan a work event for him, which was amazing. And fast forward, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. So what's a little bit about Matt?
A little bit about Matt. I'm a full-time martial art instructor. That's kind of my main focus in life. I help people all throughout Western New York build stronger minds, bodies, and spirits. That's kind of like the core focus of it. We're not just a martial arts school. We kind of use martial arts as a vehicle to teach character development. So we're primarily focused on helping people build their character via martial arts in a really exciting and dynamic format. We teach, Taekwondo, we teach boxing, we teach kickboxing, we teach Muay Thai, and we teach Krav Maga. So there's 5 different striking styles. I didn't even know you did all that.
Correct.
There's 5 different striking styles that we blend together into this really cool format. We teach from ages 3 all the way up to, we have students who are 85 years old who are still signing up. It's a vibe. And again, it's a really powerful vehicle for inspiring people to improve themselves because of how, just exciting it is and how dynamic the environment is and the culture and the people. And it's interesting because it's the only full-time job I've ever had. It has been my entire professional life's devotion into martial arts. I started taking martial arts in 2001. I got hired to teach martial arts in 2004, and I've literally just been doing that ever since. Never been to a job interview, never had another gig. I've done side stuff, of course, and I've had side gigs. But
that's always been your consistency, which is great. And just like I said, like when I talked to you about it, it was just, you could just see like the joy and like genuine passion. And like I said, like who wouldn't want to wake up and feel that, every day? So it's like and you're at the location on Kenmore. So
I am. Yep.
Yeah. And you've been at that location the whole time?
I have.
Okay.
I got my white belt in that school, and now I'm currently running that school. It's quite a full circle moment, but really enjoy it.
And I think there's such an importance to, like, a lot of the time, with certain companies, regardless of the field, you have managers come in or this and that, but I think there's such a authenticity to like experiencing every role that makes you like the best leader or management. Because a lot of the time, how many managers or CEOs actually know what go into like running a company, or like what the person at the entry level is doing versus the mid and then higher, so, and I feel like that's always made such a big difference, where it's just like, what it is to start out. So now it almost humbles you with the position that you're in now, because you take pride, because where you started and now the responsibility that you have. Do you feel like that plays a part into how
100%.
you enjoy?
100%. I think I've been really blessed in the fact that I've been a part of this organization that has been, evolving and growing, and I've been a part of that, growth and evolution. And Master Ketchen is a really inspiring person. He's somebody who came here as an immigrant, came to Western New York as an immigrant. He got a scholarship to go to UB. He's from Venezuela. So he came from Venezuela, went to UB. And during this time, when he came into the Western New York area, he had already been in martial arts from Venezuela and already got his black belt there, was already a really high-level competitor, had some pretty impressive, championship titles back in the day. And so he's looking to continue his martial art training here in Western New York. And when he came here, he was going to UB for electrical engineering, and he wanted to continue training. So he, kind of went school to school in the area. And back in the day, in the 80s, if you wanted to figure out who you wanted to train under, you kind of like challenged the other school owners. And so, he went and sparred people, whatever, and eventually settled on a school that was, based in Western New York. Started training under this guy who he, thought that he could learn from and grow with. And so it just started at that location under that guy. He went through school, got his electrical engineering PhD, and he was starting a family, and he was doing martial arts. And so he had all these moving parts, which is a really, for an immigrant where English is not his first language, it's a really impressive thing to consider, all those moving parts and just the amount of energy and determination that a person has to have in order to formulate that. So he kind of like spearheaded his way to make that happen. And then eventually, once he got his PhD in electrical engineering, you know, the goal was to use that degree in the field. And so he got offers from really big organizations, I believe one of which was the Pentagon. He got an offer. And then when he was telling the students at the martial arts school that he was going to leave, there was a moment with some of the students where he ultimately, and after having seen, you know, the type of environment and the type of unhealthy living and the type of things that might happen if he moved into this PhD electrical engineering type field, which is, you know, kind of the opposite of the mentality that we try to embody as martial artists, the lifestyle that we try to live. He, you know, decided that he was going to stay in martial arts. Okay. And so he gave up this PhD in electrical engineering, which is crazy to think about, especially back in the 80s. Right. And for an immigrant to do that, to open up a martial arts school, which is a huge risk. Huge risk. Literally on a dream. Right. So he decided to stay at this martial arts school. The person who was running it decided he was going to go to North Carolina. So he started running that school. And then after running that school for a while, he grew it to a certain point. It was doing really well. He moved to a bigger location on Kenmore Avenue. And this is in 2001, I think 2000. And then that's when I was, you know, driving down the street with my mom one day. I saw the picture of the kicking guy. And, you know, it kind of caught my attention as an 11-year-old kid. I was a little chubby back in the day. And so, but you know what though, but I was a little chubby, a little self-conscious. And so I asked my mom if I could do it. I had always loved wrestling, and I always loved being active, and Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles. Like, that was my thing when I was a kid.
When kids were kids.
Facts. And so you see that, and that was an instant appeal, an instant draw. And so I convinced my mom to take me in. She took me inside, and essentially I saw just the epitome of who I wanted to become as an 11-year-old, right? In Master Ketchen and the other instructors. I mean, they were like, you know, they were strong, they were charismatic, they were just, you know, hardworking. They could do all the cool moves that I used to see on TV. Right? I mean, like I wanted to be that. And so we started at this like one school. I think he might have had one other school at the time, because one of his other, you know, main guys, I think, opened up a school in Hamburg. And so there were 2 locations at the time. But in 2001, when I started, it was at this like point of catalyst where one of my instructors, my main instructors, who really kind of like, you know, nurtured me into the instructor I am today. He was the one who was really systemizing everything that Master Ketchen was teaching and doing, and he was creating job opportunities, and he was creating a clear path for people, and he was trying to figure out a blueprint and a way that we could take this amazing thing that we had at the school, because it really was an amazing thing. Maximize it. And not even just maximize it, but like find a way that we could create that for other places. Like, I think to myself, I don't know where I would be or who I would be if it wasn't for that school. And I think to myself, there are so many kids and people out there who are probably driving down the road looking for some type of opportunity that's just not there. And so the whole focus that I have right now is, how can I create, you know, the right systems and try to duplicate this beautiful thing that has really shaped me into who I am, and allow
Share it.
Exactly, and allow other martial artists to like have job opportunities and open up their own school and have these different, you know, satellite locations essentially where they can live their dream as being a martial art instructor, and then it can help so many other people become, you know, who they ultimately want to become. And so I share all that with you just to simply say, like, you know, the thing that has excited me and has, I guess, led me into this position that I'm in right now is because I've been through the trenches, and I've been, like, my DNA is intertwined into the Master Ketchen, you know, business, you know, just because of all the different things that my teacher gave me, all the voids that I've tried to fill throughout the years to help them. And it's, you know, continuing to grow to this point where we're just trying to continue to duplicate it and share it. And again, that's definitely something that I feel, you know, great about. And one of the reasons I've always stayed with it, even through high school, even through college. When I went to college, I didn't go there for any specific degree. I literally went there just to learn all the different things I could do to become a better martial art instructor. Okay. That was why I went to college.
Wow. Okay.
so my degree like really wouldn't get me any
Right,
regular
yeah.
job, because I literally just disregarded all of the major
General, yeah.
fields. I just took exercise science, health and human performance. I took philosophy, psychology. I took pedagogy, anything I could that would just teach me how I could become a better instructor. And so that was the foundation that allowed me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time too, like first of all, one of my favorite things is, you know, the age group that you do teach. But also too, like to the point of, I think it's underestimated where it's like you say you wouldn't be able to use that degree anywhere else. But at the same time too, like I'm sure so many of those disciplines that you teach, you know, the models, whatever the guidelines are to learn it, the importance is how much it can be applied into daily life. So like it's great that you are teaching like younger kids, because unfortunately it's not a popular thing where they are being taught those things,
Right.
you know, that undivided attention of, hey, focus, this is what
Yeah.
you know, it's not just a tablet in front of their face.
Right.
You know, so really there's such substance in what you do. Like I said, just because in daily life, you know, order, discipline, balance, you know, respect, manners, you know, unfortunately that has gone so far out of the window for like, you know, some of like the youth. So even, you know, spending that time to focus on getting that one location up to par to then, you know, have it expand to different satellites there's such a greatness in that, and that's literally what humanity should be focusing on, where it's not something that happens overnight, but if you let it evolve and grow over time the way it needs to be, it could actually be so effective in the sense of like even this office. We're in Tonawanda, but he's now expanding to Parkside Avenue because it's closer to the city of Buffalo. Not everybody's fortunate enough to have reliable transportation, or, you know, public transportation might not be in all the areas. So now you change your mindset to, we've mastered, you know, what we've been doing for years. How can we help others? How can we be an influence on others? How can we, you know, it's education, you know, it's culture. I literally keep forgetting that the master Quechan is from Venezuela. You know what I mean? And martial arts is considered a whole different, you know, culture, if you will. But it just goes to show you, where it's just like, that's the importance of not being narrow-minded. You know, educate yourself. Don't be afraid to, you know, expand your mindsets, go above and beyond, you know, get out there, learn different things about different people. You don't, society has this thing where like, oh, you have to stay in your state or stay in where your, you know, where your people live or this and that. And it's just like, you actually miss out so much on life. And we were just talking about that before, of just like, just the beauty of networking, you know. I myself have found it so effective in the past few months, where it's just like, social media is great. I tried it consistently, but then it's just like, I'm old school. Like, hi, how are you? You know, like shaking hands with people, having a meal with them, we had breakfast at one point. We were trying to figure out how we could work together. You know, just the importance of those things, you know, it's so easily forgotten with the distractions, social media, technology. And not everything needs to be monetary. You know, there's, like you said, there's a currency. I like that. There's a currency in that networking and just, you know, getting around new, like, in different people. And then I think one of the biggest things that well, I don't want to say the biggest because you travel frequently. He loves his music festivals and the Burning Man.
I know, that's right.
What is it, the Burning Man?
Yeah, Burning Man, yeah.
Okay, so now one of your bigger trips is you just got back from Bosnia.
I did.
So, like, that's kind of amazing. What triggered that? What made you want to do that? What was that experience like?
So I got invited to go by a friend who's Bosnian.
Okay.
And the opportunity came up, and it was one of those moments where it's like, when am I ever gonna have that opportunity again? It was never on my radar. It was never a place that I even was
thought about.
Thought about or considered going.
Yeah.
And so after having the invitation, and after, you know, kind of working through some of the logistics and going back and forth about possible dates and how I can, you know, make it work with the schedule, it you know, kind of all fell into place. And, you know, it was a very quick trip. It was a 1 week, you know, blitz trip where I was, you know, leaving Sunday and coming back the following Sunday.
Wow, okay.
But, you know, the whole mentality I had going into it was matching kind of like that that blitz pace. I was thinking to myself, all right, I'm going to go to Bosnia and I'm just going to see everything I possibly can as quick as I can, and I'm not going to sleep. I'll make up for sleep when I get back. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to maximize this time I have here. And I was completely shocked at how opposite it ended up being.
And I have to say, I think that's an American mindset. It is.
It's a very, it very much so, I think, and it's crazy because I got to Bosnia that, whatever it was, that Sunday, and almost right off the bat, almost immediately, I got off the plane and we were walking, out of the airport, and right outside the airport, there was this just seats everywhere outside, just seats everywhere. And then, little menus and, really little places where you can order little drinks and this kind of a thing.
Okay.
And we got out and it was almost encouraged for you to sit down and
inviting,
and just kind of just sit and relax for a minute, no rush, just have yourself a drink or whatever. And it was immediately like that. And then there was a really, warm welcoming from the people there. One of the benefits of traveling, one of my favorite things to do is travel with a person who knows the area.
Okay, right.
Because
especially in a different country.
Correct. When you can go there and they know the language and they know people.
Exactly.
And they know all the spots. I mean,
you save half the time of what are we doing? Where are we going?
Right.
Yeah.
I was able to just
relax.
Surrender, right? I was able to just surrender and let her kind of take control and let her kind of guide me of where it needed, where we should go, what we should see. I was able to meet some of the people of her family, and so we got to really.
So she actually lives there.
No, she has
there.
family.
Okay.
She has family who lives there. She lives in Western New York.
Okay.
So we would go to, some of her family's house, and it was a whole ordeal. You'd sit down and you were there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was just eating food and drinking and then talking and just, embracing the moment together. Yeah. And then we would go from there, and then we would go to the next place, and then we would sit there for an hour or 2 hours and just eat and talk and, whatever. And Bosnia is such a beautiful place. It's very mountainous. So it's very easy to catch a good view. Mm-hmm. And so there's these cafes everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that really surprised me was there's no drive-through restaurants.
Okay.
So you can't, you really can't get to-go food.
Yeah.
There was really no coffee to go. So there was no drive-through coffee places. You couldn't get coffee to go. But there was tenfold number of cafes that there are here.
Okay.
Right? So you were invited, and the culture was very much focused on conversation and it being a medium for conversation and spending time and relaxing and talking to people. And so that was very much a big component of the trip. I was not expecting to come back more rested than I did before I left. And I came back feeling fine. I got back Sunday night, went back to work Monday morning and was fine.
Yeah.
And that was, again, and that's a 6-hour layover too. That was a 6-hour time difference. And so.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it just illustrates a different way of living. And that's something that I try to embody as much as I can in my daily life, is just being able to, remember that Bosnian, it's not about the ends where I'm trying to drink caffeine so I can wake up. Right? That's really what it is. In our culture, it's very much I need caffeine so I can wake up. It's all about the end. Mm-hmm. But there, it's very much
beginning, middle, and end.
It's let's have a coffee so that we can spend time and talk. It's not about the caffeine. Yeah. It's about the time spent drinking the coffee, and that, really stuck with me. And that was one of my big takeaways from that trip. But I was so surprised how relaxed I felt, how many opportunities there were for us to just sit and relax and talk.
It was fulfilling.
It was.
Yeah, and I think there's such a richness in just that, because number one, it's almost a polite discipline to force you to say, hey, take a load off, sit, order something to eat or drink, spend some time. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to have that initial invitation, because then it's oh, okay, you're not a bother. It's not, I don't have to get rushed out, but, and then even with you getting back and feeling as well as you do, as you did, I feel like a lot of the time people misunderstand what like being tired is or this and that, where it's just like we're so quick to go to sleep. And a lot of the time you're not that type of tired. So like, what you experience, that's more relaxing your mind. So now when your mind is relaxed, it's like your body, that it's telling your body you can relax. You know what I mean? Because it's just like we're so tense most of the time that we don't probably even realize, because I got to do this and that. We're trying to be everywhere at once. So a lot of the time it's your mind that's tired. And like I've even learned that myself too, where it's just like I don't force myself to go to sleep if I don't genuinely feel like I need to. So I'll do something to relax my mind, and then I'm like, once I relax my mind, helps me come down. Now I feel like I can rest better. So like you said, and it's just like, that's such a big thing, especially these days, where it's just like, you go on a trip, and when you go on a trip, you're already on your way back because that's just what you're thinking about. And it's like, whoa, you haven't even gotten on the plane like there. And like, it's funny because I'm obviously very busy with what I do now. I actually love a layover. People are like, oh my God, like a 3-hour layover. I'm like, that's beautiful, because I get to sit in whatever airport I'm at. I like people watching. I can just like the week, the month, the year, it just like catch up to me. So then in that layover, not only can I be in that layover, but by the time I get to the second airplane to wherever my destination is, I can be present. So I think it's just really like how you train your mindset, your perspective of what's the rush? Where's the race? Why is it so quick? Even if you have a 3-day trip versus a 10-day trip, you don't have to have every single day planned. And the crazy thing is, the most expensive part of that trip probably was the flight. And when you got there, you probably spent most of your time buying coffee and little like bites. But it also felt as fulfilling as a trip to Mexico with all the excursions and the authentic restaurants and that sort of, so there's no right or wrong. There's no balance of, well, if you didn't do this, it means you didn't have a good time. No. Where this year was my first time ever in my whole entire life to Puerto Rico. Shame on me, because I have an aunt who lives there. Why it took me this long, who knows? Right. But like you said, like, I could have went to San Juan. It's touristy, hotel on the beach, cool. Oh my God, but with her, I mean, first of all, she got like 2 new knees, had a surgery on her foot, and I had to like keep up with her. She's like, no, it's fine, come on. I'm like, okay.
Love that.
But it was I was literally there probably a total of 3 days, and it felt like I experienced a week. Yeah. Because it was such an authentic tour. She's been there almost her whole life. The roads there are like very mountainous. We would just pull over, and I'm like, what are we doing? And you take a few steps, and it's like this magical waterfall. And I'm like, wait, what? So and like those things teach you, especially like elderly people. You know what I mean? She was 2 hours from the airport in San Juan. She's in Jayuya. We drive 2 hours. I get to the airport, and my flight says it's delayed, which then made me miss the next one. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She was so calm. She was so sweet. She like walked me up to the gate and everything. Fast forward, I was like taken care of. I got stuck in San Juan. Not a big deal. Right. I had a hotel at no cost. I had a meal voucher, and I had a flight at like 7 a.m. the next day. But she was so composed. And it's like, that's one thing I probably love about home care and like older people. It's just, they don't have everything figured out, but they have so many important things figured out. And it's just like you said, like just that slowing down, being present, enjoying where you are, not necessarily thinking you have to do so much just to find fulfillment and enjoyment in something. So like when I was like, wow, that's super random. I said, I know I'm familiar with Matt and the music festivals or like the Burning Man, but I was like, Bosnia. I said, I'm going to let him enjoy his trip. But when he comes back, I got to ask, like, where did Bosnia come from? Right. But and like you said, but that's the power of connecting to people. Just making those random connections, not overthinking them, letting them happen, because it's like, they just lead to places and things you're like, how did I end up here? I don't even care, but this is amazing. Right.
It is. And I went to a music festival alone once, and I did it. I like doing solo travel as well. Yeah. So I've done a lot of, travel solo just because I like
You always make friends wherever you go, I feel like.
I like that escape. I like that opportunity to just kind of like, not always. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just, kind of just, allow myself to reset, get distance, because that's such an important characteristic of living a clear life is being able to give it perspective and give it space and time.
Take a minute,
so that you can see things from, from like maybe higher up. But so I've done a lot of solo travel, gone to a lot of, music shows or festivals, solo. And, it just popped in my head the other day, just to your point of I was at a show and I was vibing, I was having a great time. And someone came up to me and was just like, "Hey, are you here alone?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm having, whatever. I was just vibing." And then so she grabbed me by the arm and just kind of like dragged me, through this, thousands and thousands of person-sized crowd.
Yeah.
And was like, on a hunt, and I didn't really know where we were going, but I kind of just trusted the process,
right.
And after a while of searching through this insane crowd. She found the rest of her friends and introduced me to all of them. It's like, all right, you're a part of our group now.
I love that.
But like, and then with that group, that became just like a core group that just immaculate vibes and just such good people. And so then from there, all of us inside that group have just been planning all these other things ever since.
Wow.
And that continues to happen wherever you go, because the idea behind that is, number one, don't be scared to like, do things that you feel pulled to do if you can't find anyone else to do it with you, right? Well, that was the situation that I was in. I was feeling pulled to do these things, but I didn't have the right, group or I didn't have the right vibe. I didn't have the right people who I thought would bring the right vibe to the event, because that's everything, right? And if people are gonna like, complain about the travel, or they're gonna like, be on their phone the whole time, or like just wasn't the right kind of like fit. And so I just decided, like, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this because I want to do it. And so the first lesson from that was like, don't be scared to do things you feel pulled to do. If you can't find other people to do it with you, don't always have to have other people with you to do a thing.
Exactly.
Because it's in those places that you'll find the people that you need to find to do the things with, right? And you're not always going to find those people in your little circles.
Right.
Sometimes they're in the other circles, and you have to insert yourself into those circles to find them. And that's what happened, right? I found, the group of people in that environment by just putting myself out there. And that led to just an exponential, and then we went to the next one, made another group, went to the next one, had another group. And now there's just people everywhere that I'm connected with and really close with, and still planning things out with. And so being able to, again, kind of like, talking back about what we were before, looking inward, being able to like understand what it is that you're actually being pulled to do. You have to understand that first, because it's not always obvious.
Right.
Like you might feel, you might feel like a lack of something. You might feel a void in some way. But until you like figure out what that lack is or what that void actually is, because it's not always obvious. Like you might think that lack or that void is, a Rolls Royce, or you might think it's like a lack of a car or a luxury item or whatever, right? But it's actually, there's deeper layers to that. It's like, okay, like, well, why do you want the luxury item? It's because I want to be noticed or liked or appreciated or valued or whatever. And so, okay, so now how do you get to that level without the needing of the things? Because that's really what you're after. It's really the recognition or the appreciation or, the people, the connection or the friendships or whatever. And so if you can focus on just that element of it and you can dissect it, then you can reverse engineer the way to get to that, skipping over the thing that you thought you wanted.
Right.
To your point, because we're always being like brainwashed and we're always being like told and advertised to what we're supposed to buy and how we're supposed to act and what items that we need in our life and, what's going to give us like, happiness, like what material item is going to give us happiness and all this other stuff. It's about understanding the level underneath that, which is the second big thing that I do in addition to martial arts. It's the daily writing. And that's been a key component of, just helping me evolve as a person and helping other people evolve as people, right? Helping them evolve. And it's because, every day there's a time that I try to spend doing that inward looking so as to better understand, okay, what is it that's happening in my life? What is it that just
checking
happened?
in with yourself.
Right. What am I feeling? What are the emotions that are happening right now? And then I try to write it out. which again, I'm not really sure what it is until I write it. You know, the thought is that writing is thinking clarified. And so if you just kind of like allow thinking to just happen, it kind of like gets tangled and confused and fuzzy and clouded and mudded because it's constantly getting stimulated with more phone time and more pings. And so it's never clear until you can block the distractions out. You can sit down and you can actually, you know, go through some of those thoughts and lay them out and you know, organize them into a clear and coherent structure so that it has a very, you know, easy to understand message that can then be framed to help others. And that's kind of, you know, the second big thing, the blog, matthogan.blog, which is the website that I use to post these 1 minute messages, these 1 minute insights. And every day I've been doing it for over 2,000 days where it's just, you know, it's
I read them every day. They come to my email and it's part of my morning devotion every day.
And I appreciate you.
Yes.
I honestly appreciate that. It really means a lot. But, you know, and I try not to take it lightly because I know how precious people's time is. But the whole idea is, you know, you can't ignore it. And so the thing that I've focused on is, you know, as far as like the whole purpose of this website is helping busy people do inner work, right? Because
Literally.
you're so busy. And if you're so busy that you can't look inward, then you're not going to be able to like grow or reach that level of fulfillment that
It's
you
like a
so
hamster
desire.
wheel. You're just going and
100%.
going with no
100%. You need to step off the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
You need to
Like a
dissect.
minute.
You need to dissect where you're at. You need to dissect what you're feeling. You need to go underneath to the deeper layers of what's happening so that you can then reverse engineer your way to where you actually want to be, right? So that's been a really key component of my practice and, you know, just spreading that right message out to others because it's only 1 minute. And if you don't have a minute in your day to do some type of inner work or self-reflection, then you got to reevaluate your day and your lifestyle, right? I mean, that's kind of the message.
And like I said, like you know, I am one of those, you know, busy people, but what I am learning over time is just like busy is never really going to stop in reality, however it looks for somebody. But like they say, you make time for what you want to make time for, and you make time for the people you want to see. Like there's no excuses. That's just the reality. If you don't want to make time or not see somebody, just say it. It's better to just be honest than making excuses because, like you said, 1 minute out of, even if it's a 12-hour, you know, period, you have more than a minute, you know. So even doing that every morning, it does ground my day.
Right.
So my day can be like so busy, but it's just like doing that in the morning when he's stepping on my face, but it's fine. Literally, I will be reading it and she is just staring at me and I'm like, this is my devotion. You're going to have to wait. Right. But like, just, you know, just that there's such a power in that. And it's literally like, I sit there and I'm like, sometimes I want to be lazy and just like, oh, let me just hurry up. And I'm like, this literally probably maybe takes me like a total of like 8 minutes. I said, I read your 1 minute. I read my daily Bible verse in 2 different apps. I have like a little Bible plan in the one, and then it's a prayer after. And I'm like, that literally never exceeds 10 minutes.
Needs to happen.
Literally. And I still, I'm like, I really could be doing so much more, but like, you got to start somewhere.
100%.
You know, and it's just like at times there are different forms where you still can do good. That was another thing I seen, which I really liked, where like me, you know, I'm Christian, we church, it's prayer, this and that. But it was like, you could still do those similar things through actions and like doing things. I said, I actually like that because I've been raised where it's just like, you got to be praying, you got to be in church every like week, you know, and it's not to say that that's wrong, but like that gave me such comfort because I do like to do that same purpose through actions or like helping others and those sorts of things. So even though it's, like you said, yours is just that 1 minute reading, but it's so intentional, you know, it has purpose, and doing it every day, like you said, it just creates that consistency to the start of each of your days. Because in this world we live in, so many distractions, what society says, whether it's like the American culture, it's so easy where, like you said, if so many people sat back and like really looked, what are you even filling your day up with? You know, like, why are you so busy? Is your busy intentional or is it purposeful? You know what I mean? So like things like that, the influence of that, bringing the awareness of that is, you know, is rare. And then it just kind of circles back to, you know, the amount of things you do on a daily in your career. Not only does it help keep you grounded, but it helps others,
Yes.
you know, not only in that one area, but then they can take it home with them and apply it to different areas in their life at different ages, at different stages. Because it doesn't matter if you're an adult, we're constantly evolving. You're not the same person you were at 30, 40, or 50,
Right.
you know, so like just those things all together. Like I love traveling. I think that's the importance of traveling,
Yeah.
you know, just surrounding yourself with different people, those mindsets, culture, just the education of things, you know, not being opposed to going to places and not, you know, knowing where you are and learning, but then, you know, you were lucky to have somebody who was from
Right.
there.
Right.
So you kind of actually got to take the back seat and just really enjoy that experience,
Yeah.
you know, overall. And like I said, and I think a lot of the time people don't appreciate that enough in the sense of like whether you're hanging out with friends or family, you know, of course you're gonna get that picture, you're gonna get that video. Do you have to post it at that moment? Probably not. You know what I mean? So it's like just that balance and discipline of being present, you know, the mindfulness and the awareness of, hey, if somebody's carving time out of their schedule, the last thing they want to see you doing is looking at your phone, you know, 75% of the time. It's rude, you know,
Yeah.
but just like, just that mindfulness, you know, and awareness. And I feel like you said, like we just said before this, I don't think life really has to be that complicated. It really doesn't. I think mindfulness, awareness, just the balance of things can declutter
Yeah.
so much of the overthinking, or if something doesn't turn out this way. Like you had a whole different perspective of what your trip was going to be
Right.
before going into it.
Right.
And you went into it and you're like, I'm sitting here for an hour and a half to 2 hours just straight up creating memories, conversation, and just being in the room. And it sounds so simple, but it's actually so valuable because of the impression it left on you even after you get back.
Right.
And that's something now you can bring back to your circle at home.
Right.
And that's the importance of that. I think, you know, that's what we should be doing, sharing our experiences. Even if they weren't there with you, like I felt like I got a cup of coffee with you in Bosnia now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Love
like,
that.
they're easy things. They're straightforward and they're free.
Yeah.
Like like you bring me down story lane. You know, you told me about the last Burning Man you went to, and I'm just sitting there like, I could like actually envision like this happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, there's such a richness in those things. You know,
I think that a big message, one of the things that helps guide, you know, the daily activities that I do is I try to think of like, okay, where's the current of like modern society going? And then I try to swim the opposite way.
literally against the grain,
Right.
pretty much. Yeah.
And I mean that like in the sense of like, okay, you know, when you look at the social media world and you look at how many times per day they're just trying to capture your attention. Like if you look at like your screen time at the end of the day, I mean, that's a very quick and easy way to prove to yourself that you got 10 minutes in your day, because people, you know, will have screen time. Like they're busy throughout their day doing things like here and there and everywhere, but they still find time to go on their phone for hours and hours and hours. I mean, the daily average use for the average American is like hours and hours of screen time every day.
Yeah, the brain is just becoming mush over time.
And so the idea is finding creative ways to start reversing that process. And so that would start maybe with, you know, starting to like silence some of those notifications, making sure they don't pop up on your phone, making sure that you're maybe even logged out of some social media sites, making sure that your phone isn't constantly calling for your attention. Maybe you take some time to look at the settings of your phone so that only certain people can get through to you. Because I understand people have dependents and people have, you know, people that, you know, rely on them who they need to be able to stay in contact with. But that doesn't mean that every single person in your phone should be able to get through to you at any time of the day. Your phone is supposed to be for your convenience, not for everybody else's convenience to access you. Like, so there's some philosophy behind the usage of the phone, and then there are some strategies that you can do to, like, you know, make sure that you're keeping yourself in check. It's something that's hard to cold turkey, but it's something that is really valuable to do in steps as you slowly kind of reverse engineer. Right. You can cold turkey, but it's good to do in steps where you're slowly fading out of that desire or that constant call.
Right. It's an anxiety.
Yeah. and you're finding ways that you can, again, reverse this culture of like fast food and drive-through coffee all the time.
Yes.
I mean, I still get drive-through coffee. I don't want to, send the wrong impression.
You adapt, but
the idea is that you're trying to, again, go against the grain of that push in society to like, all right, let's just do more fast food. Let's just do more drive-through caffeine opportunities. Let's try to, triple and quadruple the caffeine intake because that's the ultimate goal when it's really not, right? And so like, how do I reverse that? And then it's like, quality time with people, right? So people will set these, meetings up or hangouts and they're on their phones the whole time, right? I actually got caught myself where I was out with I was in Disney a few weeks ago and I was there for a martial art conference and a martial art tournament. And I took my squad out who had just finished competing at this big martial art tournament, took them out to dinner in Disney Springs. And we were at a table, there was like maybe 15 of us and we were all eating. And while we were at the table, there was one of my 14-year-olds, I think, looked at me and he said, "Hey, we're gonna do a phone thing where everyone puts their phone face down on top of each other in the middle of the table. And whoever touches their phone first has to pay the bill," right? They did that kind of a thing, right? And so and then they looked at me though, and I looked around and I was like, dang, I'm the only one on my phone right now. And I had to remind myself to be fair, I was texting my other group and I was texting other people who are back at Disney
sometimes it's
to keep in touch with them so I can make plans and organize things. But it was valid. It was like, I shouldn't be doing that at this moment. I should be celebrating them.
Yes.
I should be enjoying the presence of them. And so we all put our phones face down in the middle of the table. And we tried to like really just soak in the moment of just being together and enjoying it. And so this is another example of going against that current of constantly like, doing the other thing or being on your phone and another opportunity. And to tie it in to what you said earlier about the martial arts school, like having a brick and mortar, having an actual space where people can go into. One of the things that we do as part of our culture when people are taking martial art classes, they take their shoes off. And not only is it to keep the floor clean, but it's symbolic of leaving your problems at the door. So when you take your shoes off, you're leaving your problems at the door. Then once your problems are left there, you go on into the training hall, the dojang, right? The training hall, and you bow to the training hall so as to acknowledge that you are going to bring the right energy into the space.
You're present.
Correct, right? You acknowledge the sacredness of the space, if you will, and you're going to maintain the culture that is associated with that space. And then once you step into that space, it's about you time. It's about you doing what you got to do for you so that you can develop yourself and strengthen your mind, body, and spirit, which is essentially what we try to do every day. So that when you leave and you put your shoes back on, you are in a better place
to handle
whatever it was you had when you were going in. And so that's another example of trying to reverse that, that cultural tendency to, just, be immersed in your problems 24/7. It's like, you can't. It's not going to leave you in any kind of a better place. Like, yes, like spend quality time thinking about the solutions to your problem, but
don't dwell.
Don't dwell. The key to being more present in life is like, you don't want to be present 24/7 per se, because you do need a space to reflect on the past, and you do need a space to plan the future. So you do need to be in those two places. But if you don't have a quality time for it, what happens is it gets blended into every day, and then all that's happening throughout your days, you're constantly getting pulled past and forward because you didn't spend the time.
You're not focused on any one thing at a time.
Because it wasn't already pre-planned, which is what the writing does for me. It's my reflection on the past, so I can release and surrender to those messages and those ideas. So I'm not thinking about it all day. It is done. And I take time to plan out the next the next day or the next week or whatever, so that I'm not thinking about it the entire time I'm there.
Exactly.
That is one of the keys to surrendering into the present moment, is have those two things done so you're not getting pinged all day, like text messages, like calls, like social media, like whatever. It's about doing your due diligence there, doing your due diligence on your phone, so that you can just finally do what the culture makes it so hard to do, especially in American culture, and just enjoy what you said, just that present moment, and be mindful of where you are with who you're with.
I mean, I think, like I said, generally, summed up, that's definitely like balance. Like that, number one, that's balance. These days, we all know time goes by so quick, and that's why the importance heightens in the value of time. So if people are giving you time for things, it's also just that respect factor. And kind of just being mindful of that, where, yeah, if you plan something, be present, respect the time, and most likely whatever you need to do or get to after, it's probably going to be right there after, and everything's okay,
I know, that's right.
So, yeah, see, we got the head honcho of the Master Kitchen on Kenmore. He has his 1 minute daily writings. I'll attach that website if anybody wants
That'd be
to
great.
subscribe. And thank you so much for joining me. And this is part of just taking the time, slowing down, putting
love
it
it.
all into perspective. And now you're ready for your next
I
adventure.
know, that's right.
Yes,
Appreciate you.
of course. So you make sure to tune in and subscribe.